I'm Mary Mora. I'm the Prime Minister of this house. This house, as millennials condemn queer communities. Millennials are people born between 1977 to 1994. LGBT, L stands for lesbians. This is a relationship between a girl and a girl, or a lady and a lady. Gay is a relationship between man and a man. T stands for transgender. These are the people who, when they're born, they were either female or male. Then after some time, they tend to change their gender through some surgical work. Q stands for cure. These people they don't identify as a gender. They take pronouns them, those, they. This is a Kenyan government. We are known as a religious country, and we are influenced by a culture which we tend to change with the changing environment. We don't change it, but simply we modify it. I'll give an example like dressing. We cannot dress in leaves, but we find materials that looks like the leaves we used to wear. Why we are not supporting this is we are promoting equality. This is under SDG number 5 and 11. Even if you change your gender, your hormones still operate as you are born. That's why you need drugs to take them. If you don't take drugs, we cannot give you jobs that suit women simply because your hormones don't work as the people born as females. Then we are changing the language. Actually, how will I teach a child to say them, and we know the pronoun of them is she or her. In plural, they form they. We cannot, and changing a language to suit, it's so expensive, we have to change like the whole learning system.
Point of information, please. You're saying that changing language takes time, but language has changed over time. The English that was used,
It does not change, we modify it, we introduce new concepts, but we cannot change a pronoun like she, we put they. Imagine telling a child they is. LGBTQ brings unrealistic standards whereby everyone watched RuPaul Drag Race. A normal female has stretch marks due to giving birth. A man cannot give birth even if he undergoes a knife. And even if, because they cannot give birth.
Men have stretch marks.
Not really. I've said after giving birth. I've not said you don't. After giving birth, women undergo several changes. So our body tends to change according to the experience we have. By setting a realistic standards, you bring depression because women want to look like what they see on TV. It's undermining religion. Kenya is a religious country, be it Christianity, be it Hindu, be it Quran or Muslim. We don't promote LGBTQ team movement. The deputy will come and expound more on other points. Instead of promoting this, we have to look at the root of these causes. Some women simply hate men because they had depression, they undergo some depression. According to behavioral theory, we state that stimulus elite response. If I undergo depression because it was caused by a man, I will simply hate that gender. If I hate it, that does not solve the issue of my traumas. Why don't we cancel them? We say, that happened to you, but not all men are bad. It's simply that one person. Instead of you changing by the gender you identify it, even if changing your gender simply because of trauma, it does not remove the trauma. It's just like a mask or a makeup you put on. After all, when you remove it, we see the real you.
Okay, the Prime Minister has given us a lot of let me say, information that I will refute. So I'm going to start by, I have three points. I'm going to start by the first one, choice. Why would you condemn two grown men who have their own consent, and then you start condemning them on what they are doing? In short, you're removing their choice. It's my choice to become a member of the queer community. Why would it bother you? So it is my choice. I don't understand why you're condemning it. If I'm a grown woman and I know what I'm doing, and yet you are telling me what to do. So in short, you're telling me you're removing all my choices or all my freedoms, and I don't know why you're doing that. So if you start removing, if you remove my choice to become whatever I want to become, and I'll take any points of information, whatever time you may call it. When you start condemning sex, then we just go down a slippery slope. You start condemning how I dress. You start condemning what I wear. You start condemning how I think. And we do not want this in our government. Second of all, my second point is individuality. Yes, point of information.
So are you stating that the government cannot limit a person's choices?
But I'm saying, the government has no right. If it does not, what should I say? If it does not affect anyone in a harmful way, why would you remove my choice? That's what I'm saying. My second point is individuality. People are bound to be different. We think differently. We are taught differently. We learn differently. We've actually had conversations on Generation X, Generation Z, and we've seen how values have changed over time. So if you want to stick with the old values that were with Generation X and the other generations that came before millennials, so why are we not changing as time has changed? We now have technology, so our values have changed, our principles have changed. So why would we condemn the queer community? And this has evolved through time. So what happens if you start condemning these people? You get retaliation. As you've seen, the black people were being condemned in USA, and what happened? BLM came up, and people started rioting in the streets. So if you start condemning these people, then people start retaliating in the streets, which gives us, I have 2 minutes left, which gives us not a suitable society for us to live in. And the third thing I want to talk about is marriage. Marriage is about love. It's about comfort. It's about being comfortable with someone. If I'm comfortable with a man, why would you want to condemn me? If I'm comfortable with a lady, if I want to transform and become a boy, what's wrong with that? It is my choice. If I want to marry a man, why would you want to condemn me? And as I conclude, I'm saying change is happening. Technology has come into place. Values have changed. So I don't understand why we will not want to change with the times. PM has talked about hormones, and this is interesting. We have technology, and people can go to doctors and get all the hormones they want. People can get injected when men are being transgendered. There are hormones that are put into them, and they become whatever they want to become. So when you say about hormones, I don't understand what you're talking about. So as I conclude, what the government is selling to us is, one, they're removing our choice, they're removing our freedom. Second, they're blaming us on being diverse or being different. And I don't believe that being diverse or being different is a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. In Kenya, we have very many ethnic communities, which makes it actually a sweet thing. Being diverse, it's not bad. It's actually a very, very wonderful thing. So I would want to thank the panel for giving me this opportunity, and I'm very, very happy to oppose the motion. Thank you.
Back to the motion, this house as millennials condemn the queer community. Remember, to my learned opposition leader, we are back in the millennials. This is the range between 1977 and 1994. And to rebut you on your point of personal choices and freedoms, and old values change. Remember, the millennials were hard people to embrace change. They could really hold on to work ethics, social life, but when it comes to change, like you can't compare how a millennial operates in a workplace and how a Generation Z works in a workplace. That I beg to differ with you on that. And as long as it's a personal choice, it is not the national's responsibility or a world's responsibility to fit in your choices. And because LGBTQ movement and all the movements that have come along with the LGBTQ, like lobbying, street marches, they have all faced denial from political prejudice, religious, and everything. So it has no future of acceptance and agreement in our lives. Back to my argument, culture and value. Culture and value is something we've really struggled to uphold ever since. And entertaining or accommodating LGBTQ people is like we are deteriorating from our cultures. And it's like we are doing away with the values that we've been constantly talking about since we came here in the morning. And is in that the agenda of the day? It is. Back to my second point, religious. Whether you are a Muslim, you are an atheist, you are a pagan, you are a Christian, where in the Bible or in the Quran is it allowed for same sex? Leave alone human beings. Do you see animals having sex with the same gender? And why? Why should we human beings do that? Why are you keeping aside your Quran? Why are you putting aside your Bibles? Why are you displacing your values and morals? Who are we emulating, really?
Point of information.
Wait. On my third point, LGBTQ members have had several movements. And just to mention, they have had street marches, social groups, lobbying. Others were called, there's one which was called Popular Gay Dance Club. And this particular Popular Gay Dance Club, it was in Orlando back in 2016. And people really suffered. It ended up having 49 people dead, 52 people injured. Are these the kind of movements and memorandums we are going to hold so that our people lose lives? We are not ready for that. Let other things kill our people, but not. We are facing corona. We are facing everything, every depression everyone is facing. No one is ready to accommodate LGBTQ in our lives and have people demonstrating and getting killed by, I don't know, the police. With the level of police brutality we have, you all know, you understand. Moving on. Health risks that come along with homosexuality. When you people, the gay having their stuff, lesbians having whatever they are having, and there is leaking, you are going to have cancer, throat cancer, everything, every dirty thing you can think of that comes with sex. I assure you, and I bet, you will get if you involve with and engage. And for that, I stand. I really condemn this.
I believe the greatest error that the opening government has come to show us is the failure to understand who actually they're trying to represent, and that is the millennials. The question I'd like to throw to the government bench is that how is it related that how can they assure us that even if the LGBTQ community wasn't in existence, that there won't be demonstrations, there won't be these diseases, there won't be mental health depression that they so-called claim is only founded by the LGBTQ community? On that stance, I'd like to continue and defend what my ELO came and told us. My ELO came and told you what it is actually a matter of sexual orientation. Two consenting adults, not a child, not an underage teenager. It is actually a consenting adult, highlighted consenting adult. It is a choice. I'll take you in my 5th minute. It is a choice. Anyway, as I want to continue, as my ELO told you, marriage is more or less bound to the love, not to the person you're looking at. You're looking at it on the inside, not you're trying to understand this person looks like this. And when the Prime Minister came and said that it is actually that the LGBTQ are creating unrealistic goals, which is not a matter. Because the question I'm still posing to you, what if the LGBTQ still aren't there? Prosthetic surgeries would still continue, face beauty would still continue, and that is a factor not even brought about by the LGBTQ community. I fail to understand why you would even condemn them, because we are failing to address the plight that is actually going on. Being, since you actually narrowed it down to Kenya, we have the plight of many things, unemployment, inequality that we have to address, than actually rather condemning them. And as the DPM tried to come and say that we have more pressing matters to deal with, you are actually right. But rather, you failed to address where is it that the LGBTQ are actually suppressing, or they're refuting for this change to actually move. Because words, I quote, the Prime Minister, we want change, we want more inclusivity. Then where is it that you have to accommodate them? You do not have to accommodate them. It is their choice, it is their life, because it is a consent still. So we fail to understand your case when you tell us you're coming here to condemn them. Yet it is kind of conflicting the PM and the DPM speech actually. You are advocating for change. But then the DPM comes and tells us we need to be more enclosed. We are a religion. And millennials, you did not even touch on the subject of the matter, the millennials. Who are they? This is a progressive work. That is why condemning them actually now in the long term affects them. And how is it? Because the millennials are actually the workforce of the Kenyan economy, actually. Now, how are they affected? When you come and tell me that the riots in, where was it? The place you mentioned in the US, that the riots caused death. Now take, for instance, there wasn't in existence the LGBTQ community. Wouldn't there have been riots any other place? And these riots, have you validated them? Or is it warranted for this LGBTQ community to actually riot? For you to come and condemn them, have you understood where they're coming from? Have you understood what they're trying to fight for? They're not just even fighting for inclusivity anymore. They're fighting for them to be given promotion at work, for them to get hiring, because that is the after effect of your condemnation in the society. Because a society that's actually inclusive, particularly Kenya, with over almost 50 tribes in Kenya, when we approach the inclusivity question now, how is it that it relates to the LGBTQ community? How will the millennials be affected? Because according to the status quo, the data shows that 20% of the LGBTQ community are the millennials. So when you come and condemn them, how is it that your world looks like without them? Because without them, still these things would happen. Inequality would be there. Unemployment would be there. But they're just trying to fight for our voice in the community, to air their issues, rather not just inclusivity. And we fail to understand why the government would even condemn this. With that, I'm proud to be opposing this motion.
So allow me to start by quoting the German philosopher, one whom you know and one whom we all respect, Arthur Schopenhauer. Arthur Schopenhauer lived around 200 years ago, and he said, he contemplated that, and this wisdom I bask in, that a man can indeed do what he wants, but he cannot want what he wants. That is, we choose our behavior, not our desires. Sexual orientation is a pattern of desire, regardless of associated behavior, and so it is not chosen. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the panel, the opposition has told us a case we dispute completely, that there won't be, we shouldn't deal with problems like health and depression on LGBTQI, and we are telling the opposition that it is the government's responsibility, and these are constitutional rights, and they have been provided for under the Kenyan Constitution as the motion has been set. And it says that, I will quote the tripartite typology, which the government's duty is to protect, it is to promote, and to make sure rights are fulfilled. One of the things that we are dealing with we deal with the things that we are seeing. And the LGBTQI is a menace. This is a problem that we are seeing. We cannot fight ghosts. We cannot fight problems that we're not seeing. And that is why we are coming out strongly to condemn the queer community. And I will go to the points that have been put by the government. The government has told you that it is not the government's responsibility to fit into everyone's wants. We have the right to self-autonomy. You can do everything you want, but things that go against a society, that we will not tolerate. And we go direct to our extensions, and this is the case that we will put forward. So we will demonstrate as the closing government that one, our society is an heteronormativity society. I will explain that. And then I will go forward and tell you that there are health risks that are involved in, relations of these queer, these queer relationships. Then I will again be lenient to the opposition and give you, guidelines, and I'll give you conditions that if you fulfill, we may, as the millennials, toe to your side. That is, if only you promise to meet our requirements. On to my first point. I will start with our society is an heteronormativity society. So heteronormativity means that we are heterosexually. So this is the preferred, belief or normal mode of sexual orientation. When you are born either a man or a woman. If you decide to change your sexual orientation, you will have gone against the very basic, the tiniest, fundamental basic that builds, our society. And that is going and claiming that you are, you are queer, you belong to the LGBTQI community. These are concepts that are very foreign, especially to the Kenyan government. Again, to my second point, there are health risks that are involved, and this was stipulated by the government at the beginning. There are health risks that are involved when you fall into these relations. You go into sexual relations with a man or a woman goes to sexual relations with other women. And I will quote, according to the Global Fund to fight HIV, AIDS, and tuberculosis and malaria, it said that part of the key population that, is very vulnerable to, I will quote HIV, AIDS, is these people who subscribe to transgender relationships. So I'll give our conditions. We have told you, we have stated our case, the government had continuously stated our case, and we are telling you that if you want us to align with you, show us, you will come up with mechanisms that will allow you to, evade these diseases that we have demonstrated. If you promise to come up with mechanisms that will allow us to evade risks such as HIV/AIDS, because it is the government's responsibility to protect you, we will then be lenient and we will allow you to practice your sexual orientation as you desire it. But subject to those conditions, the government will not bow down to your request. I have never been so proud to propose this motion.
The Prime Minister have mentioned about us she has said that the LGBTQ community is undermining religion, and I want to ask you, how are these people undermining your religion? Because we have our own values, and what we need is you allow us do our own things, because I can't see anywhere whereby we are undermining your religion, because we ourselves have our own religion. And then she has also said that they, as the government, are promoting equality by denying the LGBT community their rights. And what kind of equality is that? There is no equality until you allow these people and give them their rights. And then we have the Deputy Prime Minister has stated that by by the LGBT community holding this demonstration, these movements in the streets, and so on. So I can't see anything wrong with that. So I think just give us what we require, and if you feel you are tired with the government, you can join us. And then we have the
point of information.
I'm not going to allow any point of information. And then we have the member of government. He has said that they can't tolerate our values, they can't tolerate our rights. And I want to say that the government feels like they are tired, and you should step aside, you should resign and allow us to take over, because you are just, I'm wondering what kind of government are we having if you can't allow equality and human dignity to prevail? Because it is the right, every person should have his or her own rights. Sasawa. So the government should consider that, and they should not condemn the LGBT community. And then again, I'm also wondering if I think you are born in the generation generation Z. So I don't know why you still have that mentality, that mindset of the millennials, because we have to embrace that we have to accept that the world is changing. The world is changing, and the technology is coming up with new things. And it is high time we accept and we embrace it, because that's when we should agree, because we can't continue like this way if the government, continue to deny the LGBT their rights. Thank you so much.
We have listened, painfully so, to the opposition make submissions before us, submissions without substance. So arrogant have they been in their submissions, so evasive have they been in their taking of points of information. And in the long run, out of all this bravado and out of all this megalomaniacy, they have not made a case for the opposition. How so? I turn to the first argument made by the government. Our very able Prime Minister talked about the values that are so essential to our country. The opposition, in return, they admitted that we have values. However, they did not show us in any way how the rights of, how members of the LGBTQ community, how they promote these rights, or rather how they fit into these values, of the government. On the question on religion, they have appeared before us and say that they subscribe to a religion that is not theirs. They have not stated that religion. They've just called it a religion out of nowhere. It's a religion made in fiction. It's a fictitious religion. And such arguments cannot be made in this house. The religion that the governments ascribe to and the religions known to government, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, all of them, they condemn the LGBTQ. However, it is important to note that the government does not condemn the person. It is the act that we condemn. And we condemn this act in the following way, and it is a concept that the opposition does not understand, or rather, they have closed their eyes to it. The government submitted on the health risks posed. According to the World Health Organization, 62.4% of persons who have same-sex relations are at a higher risk of transmitting HIV and AIDS. These are shocking numbers. They are sad numbers even. Now, we do understand the plight of the members of the opposition and the LGBT community in extension. However, our member of government told us, or rather has submitted before us, that we have given these some conditions, and the opposition did not respond to any of them. We gave conditions. They arrogantly left them out.
Point of information.
Yes, we can just have it.
Okay, everyone is talking about, everyone in the government is talking about health and health. What about us as the member of opposition, the LGBTQ who are being condemned? They suffer from mental health and depression. What are you doing about their health? Because if you, oh yeah, that's my question, sorry.
Well, now, it is important to understand the root cause of all that mental depression and all that. The government is not oblivious to it, as you might want to think. But what is the root cause? It is because this is something not accepted in society. It is something that is not embraced by our people. It is something not acceptable within our legal framework. And we say this with restraint and with tremendous respect to the opposition. But we condemn it based on the harmful effects that it has. It is not the person, it is the conduct. And the government has a duty, and it is a duty. But when we took office, we swore to solemnly execute a duty to protect. And if protection involves protecting you from yourselves, then the government, we will do it. We will not rest. And if you continue we will be there to stop you, to protect you from yourself. Because that's the work of government. The points of information, I think we will not be taking them. First, understand the motion, something you have not done at all. Our apologies. However, now, they have submitted that even as the government, as we condemn it based on a cultural basis from it. The practices are contrary to our values as a country. They are contrary to our values as community. They are contrary to our cultures. And the opposition have rightly told us that Kenya is a multi-ethnic society. So do they want us to believe that in the interests of their persons, we should now forget the interests of our communities, the interests of the 44 communities for a fraction of people? It cannot work. However bitter appeal it is, it cannot work. And having submitted, or rather having demonstrated why we condemn them, or rather those practices, what is left for us, or rather the inescapable conclusion is that what the opposition proposes is contrary to government values. And seeing that my time is almost up, we'll just leave by saying, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, and moves like a duck, then it is a duck. It is a cultural inconsistency. Thank you.
Government whip.
I stand before you as the opposition whip, and I have a lot of issues with the government today. First of all, the deputy compared the workforce provided by millennials to the Gen Z. Note that the Gen Z is a group born past 1997, give or take 2 years. So the ceiling for the Generation Z is 25 years, right? How do you expect to compare the workforce of 25-year-olds top with people who were born in 1984 who are all in the job market? Gen Zs are still in school. The member of government said it is a desire to be a member of the LGBTQIA+. Is it? Is it really? Because if it is, then all straight people were asked to they were asked to choose between being straight and something else. Why you? If it wasn't made a choice to you, then is it really a choice? I would like to say something that for my leader of opposition she also said that it is a choice to go have surgery. That's something I agreed with. It is a choice, but then the choice she made clear was it is a choice to go have surgery, right? It's a choice to change your outlook. It is not a choice to change who you are, okay? This is, to be queer is not just an outlook, it is something embedded inside you. It's who you are, and you can't change that no matter what surgery you have, you can't call it a desire neither. I'm sorry for the member of government who said that. the government whip, you said something like no one has to subscribe, or you said we didn't mention our religion. According to the Constitution, everyone has a right to worship, right? Did they? No one has a right to no one has to subscribe to a certain religion just because it's the most prominent one, or the most popular one, or the one you choose to subscribe to. You forgot one thing, my learned friend. And where does your argument fit with millennials? You didn't mention anything about it. For my point, I would say that human rights laws, such as the African Charter, have provisions to the effect that all individuals shall be equal before the law, and that every individual shall be entitled to equal protection of the law. Sexual orientation in Africa is actually a factor leading to marginalization. A study by Dr. Osogo Ambani is in Kabarak, as I was informed earlier. Said that sexual orientation in Africa is one of the, there is evidence of same-sex relations before we had colonizers. Millennials should not have to condemn people for who they are just because we have had these things instilled into our culture. In the Baganda Kingdom, the Kwayama and the Azande, these people had these practices way before the colonialists came here. So with the coming of imperialists, as informed by Christian morality, the imperialists introduced new laws which uncharted the social, cultural, and political systems in a manner never before imagined. These are things that were already in our system. It wasn't brought by imperialists because they came with religion. They came and said that we shouldn't do this. And now we remember that one of you mentioned that it's not in the Bible and it's wrong. Homosexuality was actually never in the Bible in the first place. It was pedophilia. Point to note. So for my closing argument, I will say this. Last of all, who on God's green earth gave millennials permission to condemn other people? Not only other people, but queer people. This is targeting a group of people because of who they are. They are people first. No one should forget that they are people first. And that's all we need to ensure we don't forget, because if someone cheated you out of their, whatever they have embedded in their heads, or they have this image of you and does not consider you a person first, where is the humanity in humans? So, as my best friend says, people don't wake up and choose to be gay or lesbian or queer or trans. So, why are we condemning people for being who they are? Supposedly, someone woke up and humanity decided not only to give their opinion on something you can't change, but something that you are. I'm finishing. I don't think this is where humanity should be headed. So, thank you for listening to me and my arguments and my side. The themes today were a lot. One I'll mention would be tradition and religion.
Thank you,
Have a good evening.